I never expected a harmless holiday tradition to unravel my marriage in a matter of hours, but here we are. And before you judge me, just hear the whole story, because what my wife did afterwards still makes my hands shake when I talk about it. So, for context, my family is Ukrainian American, and every year, even after moving to the States, we kept the tradition of celebrating St. Nicholas Day on December 19th. It's not as big as Christmas, but we always exchange small gifts. Usually something symbolic, like sweets, warm socks, maybe a book. Nothing extravagant. My wife, Amanda, is fully American. She loved the idea of this extra mini holiday and enthusiastically joined in the first few years. But lately, things have been off. Between us, between her and my family, and especially between her and herself. I didn't realize how bad things had gotten until it was too late. This year was the first time we were celebrating St. Nicholas Day with my whole family since the pandemic. My parents flew in from Chicago, my sister and her husband drove in with their twins, and even my 83-year-old babusa was there. Everyone was excited. Well, almost everyone. Amanda had been distant all week, cold, quiet, disappearing into the bedroom for hours. I thought she was stressed from work. I had no idea what was actually going on. So St. Nicholas morning comes, I prepared the gifts the night before. A puzzle set for my nephews, a signed cookbook for my sister, warm slippers for my mom, a fancy shaving kit for my dad, tea from Lviv for my babusa, even treats for our dog Bruno. I placed everything under the small holiday tree we set up specifically for St. Nicholas Day, like we do every year. And yes, here's the part where I messed up. I didn't get Amanda anything, not because I forgot, not because I didn't want to, but because she told me a week earlier, very bluntly, "Don't get me anything this year, seriously, I'm not in the mood for celebrations." She said it twice. She looked irritated even mentioning holidays, and like an idiot, I took her words at face value. Morning arrives, family gathers, kids scream with joy, adults unwrap gifts, everyone laughs, and then Amanda walks into the living room. Her eyes scan the room, the gifts, the wrapping paper, the smiles, and finally, me. Her expression freezes like she just witnessed a crime. "Amanda," I start. "Remember, you said..." But she cuts me off, in front of everyone. "Wow. So you got everyone something except your own wife?" My sister's smile dies on her face. My dad clears his throat. The whole room goes silent. I freeze. I genuinely don't know what to say. "Babe, you told me not to..." "I didn't think you'd actually listen," she snaps, her voice cracking. "Who does that? Who hears 'don't get me a gift' and actually does it?" She's shaking, breathing hard, like she's on the verge of a meltdown. My mom stands up and tries to calm her, but Amanda steps back like my mom is radioactive, and then she says it, the line that burned itself into my memory. "I hope you all enjoy your perfect little family tradition. I'm done pretending to belong here." She storms out of the room, slams the bedroom door, and locks it. Everyone is staring at me. My babusa whispers something under her breath, something about American drama. The kids look scared. My mom is pale, and I'm standing there, holding Bruno's stupid dog treat, wondering how my life went from festive to catastrophic in 2 minutes. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part happened later, because when I finally went upstairs to talk to her, I discovered something I never expected, something that explained her mood, her anger, her behavior, everything. Something that completely changed the way I saw her, and our marriage. And it all started with a small, half-open drawer. I hesitated outside the bedroom door for almost 10 minutes before finally knocking. I didn't want to barge in, not after the scene downstairs, but the silence on the other side felt heavier than her shouting. "Amanda, can we talk?" Nothing. "Amanda, please." Still nothing. Eventually, I tried the handle. It was locked, but not fully. She must have slammed it without turning the lock all the way, because the door clicked open with the slightest pressure. The room was dark except for the pale winter light slipping through the blinds. The bed sheets were messy, the blanket half on the floor like she'd tossed it aside in anger. But the room was empty. She wasn't there. I thought maybe she went to the bathroom or outside to cool off, but then something caught my eye. The bottom drawer of her nightstand was slightly open. Now, I'm not the type to snoop, but when you're in the middle of a full-blown marital crisis and your wife is acting like a stranger, curiosity becomes survival. I walked closer and crouched down. Inside the drawer was a small gift bag, neatly wrapped with a tag. To Mark, from Amanda. My heart dropped. She did get me something. She lied when she said she didn't want to celebrate. She bought a gift, hid it, and then exploded when I didn't get her one. I pulled the bag out with shaking hands. Inside was a watch, an expensive one I'd pointed out in a store months ago, but decided not to buy because we were supposed to be saving money. Amanda bought it anyway, for me, and I had nothing for her. But that wasn't the part that scared me. Under the watch box was a folded piece of paper, a receipt, not for the watch, for something else entirely. A pregnancy test, dated 4 days earlier, positive. My vision actually blurred for a moment. The room spun. I had to sit down on the edge of the bed and steady myself. She was pregnant. My wife was pregnant. And she hadn't told me. Suddenly, everything made sense. Her mood swings, the exhaustion, the long hours locked in the bedroom, her sharp reactions. She had been terrified, overwhelmed, emotional, and I just humiliated her in front of my entire family on a holiday from my culture. I felt like the worst husband in the world. I didn't even hear her come back until she spoke from the doorway, her voice small and trembling. "Why are you in here?" I turned to face her, holding the pregnancy test receipt in my hand. Her eyes widened, then dropped to the floor. She looked defeated, exhausted, broken. "Amanda," I whispered, "why didn't you tell me?" She covered her face with both hands. "Because I wasn't sure you'd want it." "What? Why would you think—" "You've been distant," she said. "Ever since summer. You barely touch me. You're always tired. You're stressed about money. I thought another responsibility would make everything worse." Her voice cracked. "And when you didn't get me a gift this morning, I thought it was your way of showing that you're done with us, with me." I dropped the receipt and took her hands gently. "No, God, no. I thought you didn't want anything. You said—" "I said it because I didn't want to seem clingy, emotional. I didn't want you to think I was being extra because of the pregnancy." "Amanda," I said softly, "you should have told me. I would have understood. I would have supported you." She shook her head. "I didn't know if you would." Hearing her say that hurt more than anything. We sat there for a long moment, her breathing uneven, my thoughts racing in circles. Finally, I asked the question that had been burning in my throat. "Are you happy about it?" She hesitated, and that hesitation felt like someone punched a hole through my chest. "I don't know," she whispered. "I'm scared. I feel alone. And today just confirmed it." That's when I realized this was bigger than a missed gift, bigger than a holiday blow-up. My wife had been silently drowning for months, and I never noticed. But the real shock came next. When I thought the emotional avalanche had ended, she reached into her coat pocket and handed me something else, a second test. This one wasn't hers. I stared at her, confused. "It's my sister's," she said quietly. She asked me to keep it secret until she talked to her boyfriend. At first, I didn't understand why she was giving it to me. Then she looked directly into my eyes, and what she said next changed everything. "Mark, someone saw her this morning, someone from your family, with a man who wasn't her boyfriend." I just stared at her, my brain struggling to keep up. "My family? Who? Who saw her?" I asked. Amanda wrapped her arms around herself like she was cold, even though the room was warm. "Your mom," she said quietly. "She saw your sister this morning, at the gas station near the highway. She was arguing with some guy. Definitely not her boyfriend." My mind instantly jumped to the worst possible conclusion. "My mom didn't tell me anything," I said. "She didn't want to ruin the holiday," Amanda replied. "So she told me instead. She said she wasn't sure how to bring it up without causing a scene." I sat back, stunned. A part of me was pissed that my own mother told my wife instead of me. But the bigger part of me was just trying to process the mess my entire day had turned into. "So she just—" "What?" handed you my sister's pregnancy test?" I asked. Amanda nodded, biting her lip. She said she found it in her jacket pocket when they were helping bring bags from the car this morning. "I think your mom panicked, honestly. She doesn't want to believe your sister is cheating, but she didn't know what else to do." 1,000 thoughts were racing in my head. My sister had been with her boyfriend Paul for 5 years. They'd been planning to get engaged soon. And now this? But right now wasn't the time. I placed the test on the nightstand and took a deep breath. "Amanda, look, whatever is happening with my sister, we'll deal with it later. You and I need to talk first." She looked away. "You're mad at me," she whispered. "No," I said firmly. "I'm not mad. I'm scared. I feel guilty. I feel like I've been blind." I reached for her hand, and this time she didn't pull away. "You should never have felt alone. That's my fault, and I want to fix it." For the first time that day, she softened. A tiny bit, but not enough. "You didn't even notice," she said. "For weeks, I threw up twice right in front of you." "I thought you had that stomach bug," I said helplessly. "The one going around at your office?" "That was 3 months ago, Mark." I winced. She wasn't wrong. I had been distant, exhausted, stressed, not present. Work had been draining me dry, and I thought I was doing the right thing by keeping it to myself, trying to protect her. But instead, I ended up pushing her away. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I should have seen the signs. I should have asked. I should have done everything differently." Her eyes filled with tears, not angry ones this time, but tired, human, overwhelmed tears. "You forgot me today," she said. "And I know it sounds childish, but I needed you to remember me, because I feel like I've been disappearing." That broke something inside me. I didn't think. I just pulled her close, and she didn't resist. She hugged me back, her head buried in my shoulder, her breathing shaky. We stayed like that for a long time. When she finally pulled away, she wiped her face and whispered, "So, what now?" I exhaled slowly. "Now," I said, "we go downstairs and we tell everyone the truth, because hiding this isn't helping either of us." Her eyes widened. "Mark, I can't. Not today, not in front of your family. They'll judge me or panic or—" "My family loves you," I said, "and they'll be happy. They'll support you. And if anyone dares judge you, they answer to me." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Even my babusa muttered "gospity" under her breath. My sister broke into tears. "Paul, please, please don't say it like that." "Say it like what? The truth," he snapped. My mom wrapped her arms around my sister, crying silently. Amanda leaned closer to me and whispered, "This is spiraling. Someone has to stop him." I nodded, but before I could speak, Paul turned to my sister again. "You told me he was out of your life," he said. "You told me you blocked him, that you didn't want anything to do with him anymore." "I thought I didn't," she cried. I thought I'd moved on." "So what happened?" Paul spat. "He texts you Merry Christmas and suddenly you're crawling into his bed." "It wasn't like that," she screamed, shaking. "Then tell me what it was like," he roared. My dad grabbed Paul's shoulder. "Get out," he said firmly. "Now." Paul shook off his hand but didn't argue. He was too hurt, too furious, too destroyed. He walked toward the front door, then stopped, turning back one last time. "And for what it's worth," he said, voice breaking, "I hope you two have a good holiday. At least someone here is having a baby for the right reasons." His eyes flicked to Amanda. My stomach dropped. Amanda's face drained of color. He knew she was pregnant. Had he overheard us? He must have. And now he'd said it out loud, in front of everyone. My entire family turned toward Amanda, their faces shocked, confused, stunned. My mom gasped, "Amanda, you're pregnant?" Amanda froze. Every eye in the room was on her. And just when she opened her mouth to speak, my sister collapsed. My sister hit the floor so fast, none of us reacted in time. 1 second she was standing, sobbing into my mother's arms, and the next, her knees buckled and she collapsed like someone cut the strings holding her up. "Oh, Borgia!" my mom screamed. My dad dove forward, catching her head before it hit the hardwood. Amanda rushed to grab a pillow from the couch and slid it under my sister's neck. "Call 911, my dad barked, but she suddenly stirred, blinking weakly. No, don't, she whispered. I'm fine. I just need a minute. You're not fine, I said, kneeling beside her. Your lips are blue. You almost fainted. My nephews were crying again. My babusa was clutching her cross necklace, whispering prayers. The whole room was chaos, but quieter this time, panic mixed with exhaustion. Amanda touched my sister's forehead. She's burning up. I think she's dehydrated. My sister tried to sit up, but my dad stopped her. Stay down. Don't move, he said firmly. No, I can't. She swallowed hard. I need to explain. I need to tell you everything. Sweetheart, this isn't the time, my mom said, crying. It's exactly the time, my sister whispered. She pushed herself against the couch, breathing unsteadily. Her voice was shaky, but determined. The kind of tone people use when they're clutching the last thread of dignity they have left. You all deserve the truth, she said, and I'm tired of hiding. I braced myself. Amanda sat beside me, gripping my hand tightly. My sister wiped her face, but the tears kept coming. Yes, she said. I went to see my ex. Yes, it was stupid. No, I didn't plan it. He messaged me 2 weeks ago saying he was moving to another state. He wanted to say goodbye. I just wanted closure. Her voice cracked again. I swear I never meant for anything to happen. But it did, I said quietly. She nodded, ashamed. We had a moment of weakness, she whispered. One night, I told myself it meant nothing. I told myself I loved Paul, and I do. But I've been confused, lost. I don't know what's wrong with me. My mom stroked her hair, crying softly. Why didn't you tell us? My dad asked, trying to stay calm but failing. Because I didn't want to destroy everything, she said. And then I missed my period. I panicked. I took the test. And when it was positive, I felt like my world ended. She covered her face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to tell Paul unless I was sure. I was hoping, praying that maybe it was his. I was going to schedule a doctor's appointment to check how far along I am. But before I could, your mom found the test. My mom buried her face in her hands. I wasn't snooping, she said. I swear I wasn't. It just fell out when I hung up your coat and I know, my sister said softly. It's not your fault. It's mine. The room fell silent, even through everything. The drama, the shouting, the shock. I couldn't help feeling sorry for her. She wasn't evil. She wasn't heartless. She was just human, flawed, overwhelmed, drowning in mistakes she didn't know how to fix. Then she looked up at all of us. I don't know who the father is, she said, but I know I ruined everything, and I'm so sorry. She sobbed into her hands, and that's when my dad stood up, wiped his face, and said the last thing I expected. We'll get through this. Everyone looked at him. He nodded firmly. Family doesn't fall apart over one mistake. We'll take care of her. We'll figure this out, together. It was the first moment of unity the entire morning, but it didn't last, because just as my dad reached down to help my sister sit up, there was a knock at the front door, a sharp, loud, urgent knock. Everyone froze. Please, my mom whispered, not more drama. I went to the door, half expecting it to be Paul returning for round 2, but when I opened it, I froze. Standing on the porch was a police officer. Are you Mark Holub? He asked. Yes. He glanced past me into the chaotic living room, his expression grave. I'm sorry to interrupt your holiday, sir, he said, but we need to speak to you about an incident that occurred this morning involving your wife. I turned slowly toward Amanda. Her face went white. My wife? I repeated. What incident? The officer looked directly at Amanda. Ma'am, we need to ask you some questions. We have footage of you at a pharmacy this morning, and we believe you may have witnessed, or been involved in, a theft. Amanda staggered backward. What? She whispered. No, I didn't. The officer's hand moved to his belt. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step outside. My whole family erupted at once, and suddenly, St. Nicholas Day turned into a nightmare none of us could have imagined. For a moment, I genuinely thought I misheard the officer. The word theft didn't even make sense in my brain. Amanda? Stealing? My wife who feels guilty taking extra ketchup packets from restaurants? What are you talking about? I asked, stepping between Amanda and the officer. She didn't steal anything. The officer kept his voice calm but firm. Sir, I need you to step aside. We just need to clarify a few things. My family was watching in stunned silence. My crying sister forgotten, Paul forgotten, the pregnancy tests forgotten. Now the spotlight was on Amanda. My wife was shaking. I didn't steal anything, she whispered. I swear, I paid for everything. What pharmacy? I asked. The officer pulled out a small notepad. The Walgreens on Oak Ridge Avenue. Amanda's face dropped. I was there this morning, she admitted quietly, but I didn't take anything. The officer flipped a page in his notebook. A store employee reported a woman fitting your description, leaving the store with items she did not pay for. When reviewing the security footage, we saw a pregnant woman in a gray coat leaving the store in a hurry. I paid, Amanda said, raising her voice for the first time. I used the self-checkout. Asked them to check the register. I understand, the officer said calmly. We're not accusing you. We just need you to come down to the station to clear things up. She's not going anywhere, I said firmly. Not until you explain exactly what she supposedly took. The officer hesitated, then read from his notes. A box of prenatal vitamins, 2 pregnancy tests, and a small prescription bag left behind on the counter. Amanda gasped. What? I didn't take any prescription bag. I wasn't even picking anything up. The officer nodded. Which is why we're here. It may be a misunderstanding. Before I could respond, my mom stepped forward. Officer, this is all crazy. It's St. Nicholas Day. We're having a family gathering. She's overwhelmed. We all are. The officer softened slightly. I'm sorry for the disruption, ma'am. I really am. But it's protocol. Amanda suddenly covered her mouth with her hands. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't steal anything, she whispered again. Mark, please believe me. I gently wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I do believe you, I said. But let's figure out what happened. And then, like a puzzle piece snapping into place, I remembered something. Amanda, I said slowly, what time were you at the pharmacy? Early, she said. Around 8 a.m. My stomach twisted. Were you wearing your gray winter coat? Yes. And you left in a hurry, right? Because you were feeling sick. She nodded, confused. I almost threw up in the parking lot. The officer scribbled something. And the prescription bag? I asked. Did you touch it, even by accident? No, she said firmly. I didn't even see one. Before the officer could say another word, my babusa, who had been sitting on the couch this whole time watching everything like it was a TV show, suddenly stood up and pointed a shaky finger at Amanda. Vananavina, she said. It wasn't her. We all turned. My grandmother continued in English so the officer could understand. It wasn't her, she repeated. I saw another woman this morning at the gas station. Same coat, same hair. She looked just like her from behind. I even thought it was Amanda at first. My eyes widened. You saw someone who looked like Amanda? Yes, she said confidently. She went into the Walgreens before your sister's situation at the motel. I remember because I waved at her, but she didn't wave back. Then I realized it wasn't Amanda. The officer blinked, surprised. Ma'am, he said carefully, are you sure? My grandmother nodded. I'm old, not blind. A sliver of hope flickered in Amanda's eyes. See, she whispered, it wasn't me. But the officer wasn't done. Even if that's true, he said, we still need you to come in and confirm your identity. It's routine. My mom stepped forward again. Can't she come later? She's pregnant, for God's sake, and she's had a horrible morning. The officer hesitated, looked at Amanda, looked at my grandmother, then finally sighed. All right, how about this? If you can provide proof of purchase from the pharmacy, even electronically, we can close this without needing you at the station. Amanda immediately lifted her phone, her hands shaking as she swiped, but then her face froze. What is it? I asked. She slowly turned the screen so I could see. There was no receipt, none. No Walgreens purchase in her history, no email, no bank charge, nothing. Mark, she whispered. I don't understand. I did pay. I remember paying. The officer's voice returned to that professional tone. Ma'am, without proof, we'll still need to verify your involvement at the station. Amanda's eyes filled again, and then, as if this day couldn't get any more insane, my sister, still weak on the floor, whispered, "It wasn't her." We all turned. She swallowed hard. I know who it was." My sister's voice was barely audible, but the moment she spoke, the room fell into a deeper silence than before. Even the officer paused mid-breath, turning toward her. My mom wiped my sister's forehead. "Sweetheart, what are you saying?" My sister pushed herself up a little, wincing. Her eyes darted toward Amanda, guilty, fearful, apologetic. "I know who took those things from the pharmacy," she whispered, "and it wasn't Amanda." The officer stepped closer. "Ma'am, can you explain?" My sister nodded weakly. It was me." The words hit like a sledgehammer. The whole room froze. My dad blinked. "What?" My sister turned her head toward the officer. "I'm the one who was at the Walgreens this morning. I was wearing a gray coat too. I went in to buy the pregnancy test, and I was shaking. My hands were shaking so bad." She took a breath, her voice trembling. "I was supposed to pay. I swear I was. But I got nauseous while scanning everything. I thought I was going to throw up. I dropped the vitamins and the tests into my coat pocket without thinking. I just walked out." She looked at Amanda with tears in her eyes. "And then I saw you walking toward Paul's car, and I panicked. I didn't want you to see me. I didn't want anyone to know. I thought I could go back later and pay for everything, but I never did." Amanda's hand flew to her mouth. I felt like the floor shifted under my feet. My mom looked like she was about to faint. My dad leaned back against the wall, rubbing his face with both hands. The officer exhaled slowly. "That does match what the employee reported," he said. "They mentioned the woman appeared distressed, in a hurry." My sister nodded. "That was me, not Amanda." Amanda closed her eyes, relief washing over her face, but mixed with something else, something like heartbreak for my sister. "Why didn't you just say something earlier?" Amanda whispered. My sister looked down. "Because I didn't want to add more problems, and everything was already exploding because of everything else." My father stepped forward, voice strained. "You should have told us." "I know," she whispered, "but I'm ashamed enough already." The officer took a step forward, kneeling next to her. "Ma'am," he said gently, "thank you for being honest. It makes things a lot simpler. We'll need you to come with us to make a statement, but given the circumstances, I think we can resolve this without charges, if the store agrees." My sister nodded. "I'll go. I'll say whatever you need." My mom grabbed her daughter's hand. "She's not going anywhere today. Look at her. She can barely stand. We can transport her by car," the officer said, "and she can sit while giving her statement." Out of nowhere, my grandmother suddenly stepped in front of him like a tiny shield. "She is sick. You cannot take her today," she said firmly in her accented English. "Tomorrow. Bring paper. She will sign. Today, no." It was the most authoritative I'd ever heard her. The officer hesitated. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "All right, I can try to arrange that. I'll talk to the store manager. We'll handle this tomorrow." He pulled out a card and handed it to my sister. "Call me as soon as you're able." Then he turned to Amanda. "And, ma'am, I apologize for the misunderstanding." Amanda nodded slowly. "It's okay." It definitely wasn't okay, but she didn't have the strength to argue. The officer left. And the moment the door shut, the room collapsed into emotional rubble. My dad let out a long, exhausted breath. My mom hugged my sister tight. My grandmother shook her head like the entire universe had personally offended her. I turned to Amanda. She looked hollow, drained, trembling. "You all right?" I whispered. She nodded mechanically, but tears were already forming again. My sister wiped her face. "Amanda, I am so sorry. I didn't mean for you to get dragged into my mess." Amanda knelt beside her and hugged her, gently, carefully. "I'm not angry," she said softly. "I'm just overwhelmed." My sister nodded, breaking again. "I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want to ruin St. Nicholas Day. But everything I touched today just kept falling apart." Amanda gave her a sad smile. You didn't ruin today. Today was doomed the moment Mark decided not to get me a gift. She said it with a small joke in her voice, but the sting was real. Everyone laughed, even my babusa. But the relief was short-lived because my sister suddenly grew pale again. Mark, Amanda, she whispered, there's something else I have to tell you. My stomach tightened. Please, I said. Not more. But she nodded slowly. There's more, she said. A lot more. She looked terrified. Amanda took her hand. What is it? My sister looked up at us, her eyes wide with fear. The man I met at the motel today. He wasn't just my ex. She swallowed hard. He knows you, Mark. I felt the blood drain from my face. Amanda turned sharply toward me. What does she mean? Knows you how? My sister's eyes flicked nervously between us, guilt radiating from her like heat. He recognized your name, she whispered. When I mentioned I had to leave to go to your house, he repeated it. Mark Ellis? Like he already knew. Amanda's eyebrows pulled together. And who is this guy exactly? My sister squeezed her eyes shut for a second. My ex, the one I told you I broke up with months ago, the one who wasn't good for me. The room went still again, my mom's lips pressed into a thin, worried line. My dad subtly shifted closer, like preparing for bad news. I inhaled slowly. What did he say about me? My sister hesitated. He said he had business with you. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. What business? She shook her head. I don't know. He didn't elaborate. When I tried to ask, he told me not to get involved and that things would unfold soon. Amanda stared at her, stunned. I tried to keep my voice steady. You're sure he meant me specifically? She nodded. Positive. He said your full name. Twice. My grandmother crossed herself dramatically. Gospity. My father rubbed his temples. This day just gets better. My sister kept talking, her voice trembling. I didn't even want to meet him today. He texted me last night saying he needed to see me, urgently. He said he'd been watching my situation. I thought he meant my breakup, or my job search. But now, I'm not so sure. That last sentence sent a chill through the entire room. Amanda finally broke the silence. Is he dangerous? The question hung in the air like smoke. My sister looked down. He can be. Great, my dad muttered. Fantastic. Now we've got some unstable guy involved. I stepped closer. What exactly happened at the motel? Her eyes glistened. He was waiting for me already in the hallway. He said he'd been tracking me through my phone. I freaked out, asked how, and he just smiled. He said he had access to things I didn't need to worry about. Amanda gasped softly. My mom covered her mouth. What things? I asked, my voice tight. She hugged her stomach with both arms like trying to keep herself from collapsing inward. He said he'd been consulting with someone, that someone gave him information about you. She paused, gathering courage. And he told me to warn you that something was coming, something that would shake your whole house. That's why I was so upset this morning. That's why I was shaking in Walgreens. It wasn't just the pregnancy test. It was him, his threats, his whole energy. My breathing grew shallow. You're telling me a man I've never met is threatening me? She nodded. And you didn't think maybe that was something to tell us earlier? Amanda snapped, stress finally boiling over. My sister broke again. I didn't want to scare anyone, especially today, especially after you guys were already arguing. Amanda rubbed her forehead. This is insane. My father stepped in, his voice firm and steady. All right, enough guessing. What does he want? Did he say anything else? My sister hesitated. He said, he knows what you did. The room froze. My heart stopped for a beat. What I did? I echoed. What does that even mean? I didn't do anything. He said you'd know soon, she whispered. He said you were living on borrowed peace. Amanda's face twisted with fear and confusion. What is happening right now? I don't know, I burst out. I don't even know this guy. My sister nodded quickly. I believe you. I do. That's why I'm telling you everything. She swallowed. But there's more. My father groaned. Oh, wonderful. Of course there is. My sister looked directly at me, her voice dropping to a near whisper. He asked for your address. He said he was going to stop by today. Amanda slapped her hand over her mouth. My mother's eyes widened in horror. My grandmother murmured a prayer under her breath. I stood perfectly still, too still, while my mind raced. And did you give it to him? I asked quietly. She shook her head, fast and panicked. No, of course not. I told him I wasn't sure where you moved. I lied, but he didn't believe me. He said he already knew. He even repeated the street name. I guess he found it on his own anyway. A sharp knock suddenly echoed through the house. Everyone jumped. My sister let out a small, terrified cry. Amanda grabbed my arm, eyes wide. My dad turned toward the hallway. My grandmother whispered, "Ne dai Bože." Then another knock, harder. I took a slow, shaky step toward the door. My heart beat pounding so loudly it drowned everything else out. Whoever was on the other side knocked one more time, slow, deliberate, chilling. I reached for the doorknob, and then I froze with my hand on the doorknob. The knocking stopped. But the silence that followed was even worse. It was the kind of silence that wrapped around your throat and squeezed. Amanda whispered, "Mark, don't open it." My father stepped beside me, lowering his voice. "Look first. Use the peephole." Right. The peephole. I leaned forward slowly, heart hammering against my ribs, breath stuck somewhere between my chest and throat. Through the tiny circle of glass, I expected to see my sister's unstable ex, maybe pacing, maybe waiting, maybe glaring right at the door. But instead, I saw no one. The porch was completely empty. My breath clouded the peephole from the inside as I blinked, confused. "Who is it?" Amanda whispered. "No one," I whispered back. "There's nobody here." My grandmother shook her head. "Ce ne dobry znak." My father frowned. Maybe they left. But the air felt too heavy, too wrong, too timed. Like someone had knocked intentionally to let us know they were there, and then slipped away before we looked. I waited another few seconds, scanning the porch again. Nothing. Finally, I unlocked the door and opened it cautiously. The cold December air rushed in. The porch light flickered slightly, casting long shadows across the driveway. Still no one. But as I stepped outside, something crunched beneath my shoe, a piece of paper, folded carefully into a neat square. My stomach tightened. I bent down, picked it up, and slowly unfolded it. Amanda stood behind me, her voice shaking. "What is it?" My father leaned in. My mother held my sister tighter, watching from the couch. My grandmother made the sign of the cross again. On the paper, written in sharp, deliberate handwriting, were 6 words. "You shouldn't have lied to her." Amanda's breath caught. My sister let out a small sob. My father clenched his jaw. "What the hell is this?" I stared at the message, my fingers trembling. "I don't know," I said quietly. "I haven't lied to anyone." My sister wiped her face. "He thinks you did. He said it earlier today, that you were lying to someone important. I thought he meant your boss or something. I didn't know." Amanda turned to me slowly. "Mark, is there something you need to tell me?" Her eyes were scared, hopeful, and heartbroken all at once. I shook my head immediately. "No, I swear. I don't know what he means." But even as I said it, I felt doubt clawing at the inside of my stomach, because the way he worded it, "You shouldn't have lied to her," implied he was talking about Amanda specifically. My dad grabbed the paper harshly and read it again. "This is a threat. We're calling the police back." My sister panicked. "No, if he sees cops again, he might get worse." Amanda hugged herself. "This is insane. Why is he doing this? Why target us?" My sister whispered, "Because he thinks Mark ruined my life." Everyone turned to her. "What?" I asked. She nodded slowly, terrified of her own words. "He said you're the reason we broke up, that you convinced me to leave him, that you poisoned me against him." I blinked. "That's not true. I told you he was bad news because he was bad news." "I know," she said quickly. "You were right, but in his mind, you stole me away from him." Amanda whispered, "So he wants revenge." My sister nodded, her voice cracking. "Yes, and he thinks the best way to hurt you is through your home." The weight of those words pressed on the whole room. My mother sat down slowly, breath shaking. "This is too much. We need to go somewhere safe." But before anyone could respond, something unexpected broke the tension. My phone buzzed, loud in the silence. Everyone jumped. I reached into my pocket, hands trembling, and looked at the screen. It was a text from an unknown number. I swallowed hard and opened it. It was a photo of our house, taken from outside, from the yard. "Seconds ago." Amanda gasped. My father cursed under his breath. My grandmother whispered a prayer. My mom covered her mouth. My sister collapsed into tears. I stared at the photo, my blood turning to ice. He was here. He had been right outside, watching us. A second message arrived, 5 words this time. "Come outside alone, Mark." The entire house seemed to exhale in horror. Amanda grabbed my arm. No, you're not going anywhere." My father stepped in front of me. "You are not stepping outside." But the third message came before I could even react. "If you don't, I come in." My entire body went cold. The text on my screen glowed like a threat carved in stone. "If you don't, I come in." Amanda clutched my arm so tightly her nails dug into my skin. My father stepped forward. "Give me the phone." I handed it to him, and he read the message with a grim, controlled rage. "No one is going outside," he said firmly. "He's bluffing." But before he finished the sentence, another sound hit the house, a soft click from the side of the house. Then another click. Then the faint creak of our backyard gate opening. My sister let out a strangled gasp. Amanda backed away, her face pale. "He's here," Amanda whispered. "Oh my God, he's actually here." My father motioned us all back. "Everyone into the living room, away from the windows." My grandmother practically sprinted despite being 76. The house fell into a tense, suffocating silence. Then, footsteps, slow, heavy, on the wooden deck outside, right behind the sliding glass door. Amanda covered her mouth to keep from screaming. My mom whispered, "Call the police! Call them right now." But when my father grabbed his phone, no signal, not a single bar. My sister collapsed into the couch. "He said he could access things. Maybe he cut the service or jammed it." Amanda shook her head, terrified. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." My instinct screamed at me to grab something, a lamp, a chair, anything. But I was frozen. Then he knocked on the glass, a single deliberate knock. It echoed through the house like a gunshot. Everyone jumped. Amanda grabbed my shirt and pulled me behind her like she was trying to shield me, even though she was shaking uncontrollably. My dad stepped forward, fists clenched. The knock came again, slower, harder. My sister whispered through tears, "Please don't open it. Please. He's not stable. He's not the same as before." I swallowed hard. I stepped toward the sliding door despite everyone pulling me back. I don't know why. Maybe shock, maybe anger, maybe stupidity. But something deep in me knew, if I didn't confront him, he wouldn't stop. He'd keep coming, keep escalating, keep terrorizing my family. I took one step forward. Amanda grabbed my arm. "Mark, no, please." My father grabbed my other arm. "You're not going near that door." But I pulled free, and for one split second, I saw a shape outside the glass, tall, still, facing us, but his face was hidden in shadow. I steadied my breath, and then the shadow moved, not toward the door, but toward the edge of the deck, as if he changed his mind, as if he had decided something. And then the silhouette disappeared off the side of the deck into the dark. I ran to the sliding door and locked it fully. Then I scanned the yard again. Nothing. My father yelled, "Everybody to the hallway! Now, away from the windows!" We all rushed into the inner hallway. No windows, no visibility from outside. My sister was shaking so hard, my mother had to hold her still. "What does he want from us?" Amanda whispered. "What does he want from you?" I looked at her helplessly. "I don't know," my sister sobbed. "He doesn't want anything. He wants to destroy. That's who he is." The house remained silent for a solid, agonizing minute. Then, suddenly, my phone buzzed again. Everyone jumped. I looked down. One final message. Consider this a warning. Next time, I won't knock. Amanda's face twisted in terror. My father grabbed the phone out of my hands. That's it. We're leaving. Right now. Get your bags. But before we could move, we heard the distant sound of a car engine revving up. Then tires screeching. Then silence. He was gone. Vanished into the night like a ghost with a grudge. We waited another 10 minutes in that hallway until my father finally said, "Okay, move. Everyone to the car. We're going to the police station." Amanda nodded, trembling but determined. But as we walked out, as we stepped onto the porch, we found something else waiting for us. Another piece of paper. This one tucked under a brick by the steps, like he placed it there deliberately as he left. My father looked at me. "You want to open it, or should I?" I took a breath. "I'll do it." I unfolded the paper slowly. Amanda squeezed my hand. My sister held her breath. My mother whispered a prayer. On the paper, "I know the truth about Christmas morning. Ask Amanda. Ask what she never told you." My heart stopped. Amanda's face changed, completely. She froze, eyes wide, color gone, like she had just seen a ghost. "Amanda," I whispered. "What is he talking about?" Her lips parted, barely forming words. I don't know how he would know about that." My stomach tightened. "About what?" She swallowed hard and closed her eyes. "About the secret I was keeping from you." Silence crashed over the porch. I stared at her. "Secret?" Tears welled in her eyes. "I wasn't mad this morning because you forgot the gift, Mark. I was hurt because I found the note, the one you were hiding, the one where you wrote that you might not want to stay married." My breath left my lungs. "What? Amanda, that was from months ago. I didn't mean—" She shook her head. I know. I found the date. I knew it wasn't recent, but it still broke something in me, and I didn't want to ruin St. Nicholas Day." Her voice cracked, so I kept it inside. My father stepped closer. "This is a conversation for later. Right now, we need to leave." He was right. This wasn't the time. But as we got into the car, as we drove away from the house, as the cold December air pressed against the windows, I couldn't shake one thought. He knew. He knew something intimate, something private, something he had no business knowing, and he wasn't done, not even close. Because when we reached the police station, my phone buzzed one last time, a final message. No threats, no taunts, just 3 words. "See you soon." And that's when I realized the worst part wasn't that he showed up tonight. The worst part was knowing he wasn't finished. Not with me, not with Amanda, not with any of us.